Hey everybody, in this quick video I'm going to show you how you can disable your directory browsing for more privacy and for better security. Now when directory browsing is enabled, then anyone and everyone can see the entire list of all the folders and files you have within your website's architecture. And sometimes a user will see this by accident, so to speak. I'm sure you've stumbled across these before. It can happen when someone makes a request to a directory on a website that doesn't have an index file, such as index.php or ASP or HTML. Then in that case, the server will send the directory listing as a response. Now, unless you have a really good reason for wanting this to show up for visitors, it's a good idea to disable this. For one, it looks kinda ugly and old school, especially since it doesn't have a style sheet attached to make it look pretty. Second, maybe you don't want site visitors seeing the entire contents of your site like this. And third, while it isn't exactly the world's biggest security risk, unless the file names themselves contain sensitive information, still it's a potential source of vulnerability that hackers can exploit. But let me be clear, just disabling your directory browsing isn't going to make your site safe from hackers. There's that old idea of what's called security through obscurity, and this has been around for decades, and it's been roundly rejected ever since its inception. The idea is that if something has security flaws, well, the owner may believe that they are safe so long as the potential hacker doesn't know about them. But if that's your only security mechanism, then you're in trouble. Another concept is defense in depth, which applies multiple layers of security and adds redundancy in case one layer fails. And that's what we're talking about today. So disabling directory browsing isn't the only thing you should do, it's just one of the things you should do. Because in this case, if a hacker can see all the folders and URLs in your site's architecture, that in and of itself is not enough to compromise your server. That said, having all this visible can expose you to other security flaws. Like if a hacker finds one security flaw or a file that they can compromise, then being able to see the entire directory listing can help them find other files they can exploit in a very similar way. Or they can use it to look for files they suspect might be vulnerable. Or if they can see the directory listing, hackers can use this information to find out what kind of third-party software you're using for PHP and other server-side scripts, for instance. Or maybe you have a backup folder with your PHP config file in it. A hacker is fuzzing or crawling the web and finds it. Boom! He can now download it and look at all your database connection details, and with these credentials, he can possibly damage the web app or the database. Not cool. So it's mostly because of reasons like these that disabling directory browsing is a good idea. You don't want to make life easy on hackers. The more time they spend trying to exploit your site or find vulnerabilities, and the more time they waste rooting around in the dark, then the higher the chances are they'll give up and go away. Or to think about it another way, since most hacking attacks begin with hackers scouring the web with their own crawlers looking for opportunities that may be exploited, then they ratchet up their work once they stumble across a potential target. By disabling directory browsing and other security measures, you're ensuring that hackers are much less likely to flag you as a target in the first place. So, let's go ahead and see how we can take care of this. One method is to add an empty index page, like index.php, index.asp, or index.html, in the folder in which you don't want browsing enabled. Then the server will send that index page instead of the directory listing. But in this case, just know that if you have browsing enabled site-wide, then you'll need to do this within every folder that you don't want the directory listing shown. Or if you're hosting with cPanel, then you can just come to Indexes in the Advanced section. Select the folder that you'd like to disable browsing on, in this case, my public HTML folder that contains my entire site. Select No Indexing, and save. To disable directory browsing across your site for Apache servers, it's a fast and easy fix. All you need to do is go to the root directory of your website and find the htaccess file. The dot in front means that this is a hidden file, so you're going to need to be able to view hidden files to see it. Open it up to edit, and add this line, options - indexes. Save, and done. It's now disabled and your files and folder structure is for your eyes only. If you're running on an Nginx server, then directory browsing should be disabled by default. But if for some reason it's been enabled through a configuration change, then you'll need to access the Nginx configuration file, find Auto Index On, and turn it to off. Then run service Nginx restart to make it take effect. And you're good to go. Directory browsing has now been disabled, and bad actors can go their merry way without seeing all the contents of your site. Feel free to check out our other videos so you can keep fine-tuning and getting the most out of your SEO. And click subscribe to stay updated with new tips and tricks to get you to the top of the search engine results pages.